Ready, kids? Aye, Captain! I can't hear you!
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. I'm your host, Jim Bob Ovalshorts, and tonight we're welcoming back a show friend and one of my early guests on and doing these podcasts, Jody Albert Moss. Man, Jody is a really, really cool guy, you guys. I love when he comes around and has conversations with us, man. He's just real calm, cool, and collected, man. He's a really cool fella and really inspirational, man, and just somebody that I can relate to, and I think all of you can relate to. And if you remember from episodes past, you're gonna be right on in and having a good episode with him, man. He deals in like Arcturian energy, and he deals in just all kinds of spirituality type stuff. And Jody's a real smart guy, man, and he's been around long enough to be able to tell us a thing or two. So I think this is going to be a real fun episode and a real good chance for some of you to check out somebody you may not have heard yet, or even make you want to go back and check out some earlier episodes of the show, because that's just how it works here, man. I just keep producing it. You're always welcome to go back and find the episodes when you feel like you need to find them, or however that works, man. That's just how it goes. We like to keep on going here at Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast, because that's what we're about, is bringing that unity and bringing people together from different walks of life and showing that we're more alike than we are different, man, because that's what it's about right there. Because at the end, man, we are all the same. I cannot stress enough how much we are all the same. But of course, anything we talk about tonight, and of course, how you can get back to everything that we share dealing with Jody and stuff like that, you'll be able to find over there at unconstitutionalawakening.com. Your home for everything us, man. We've got a lot of great stuff going on over there, from links to get back to everybody that is here on the show, and links to watch us if all you do is listen, and listen if all you do is watch us. You can listen to us right there on the website. Man, there's links on that homepage to even get back and get you some of that sweet Unconstitutional Awakening merch, like these shirts or these all-in stickers we've been giving away, man. Which we're going to continue to do for a while. So y'all make sure y'all getting over there and answering those questions. I don't want the same two folks answering them every time, but if that's what it comes to, then that's what it's going to be. I don't care. And you guys just keep on keeping on and keep on supporting us, because we greatly appreciate each and every one of you out here doing that. Make sure you also check out our friends in Liberty, Kirk Elliott, PhD, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, Brett Pike with Classical Learner and Homeschools Connected, and Pure Pet Wellness with CBD products for your pets, man. All these people are great folks trying to bring a difference in this world and show folks that there's a whole other side of things aside from the tyranny and the corporatization that's been thrown upon you throughout everything else like that, man. So get over there and check out them friends and liberties of ours, and check out anything else on the website. You can get back to links to all of our socials and where to follow us, like on Facebook at Captain Conspiracy and the Freedom Pirates, or Defeat the Media. And coming soon, I'm totally going to make a couple Unconstitutional Awakening. Well, they're already made. They're just not public yet. But the Twitter and the Instagram and stuff, y'all just keep paying attention, man. All else, you can find the rest of us, like I said, in our links in the podcast and more section, and in the host section. We've got all kinds of great links up there for you guys, man. So I guess I'm gonna quit rambling, and we're just gonna hop on into this thing, y'all. So let's weigh anchor and set sail on this guy. And good evening, everyone. As I told you guys, we were having my buddy Jody back on here for the first time in a while, and tonight Bandit and Luis are joining me. So it's been a while, Jody. How are things been, man? How you going?
It's all good. Just getting through the winter. We're getting a major storm today, so I've already been out with a snowblower once, and I'll probably have to go out after this. I think we'll get about 8 inches tonight.
Oh God.
Yeah, well, we haven't had anything, so.
Yeah.
No, we've got nothing here.
I've got rain.
I got rain. I only got rain. So
We got like a sprinkling of rain and like 40 and 50 mile per hour wind gusts.
Oh yeah, I'm getting wind too.
Oh,
yeah,
man,
it's freezing outside.
Oh, it was.
We didn't get the wind, but I'm sure everybody in my area would be having some serious PTSD if we got the wind. So, especially after all those tornadoes the other week.
Yeah.
That's been a fun thing to watch for sure. So, how's I've seen that you've been working on your podcast for Jody. How's that been going?
Well, big learning curve for me. I'm not a techie guy, but I'm figuring it out. I'm just using, I guess it's Anchor. I load up to that and away we go. I'm moving to podcast because I'm moving away from social media. Just tired of the shadow banning. And, I put in a lot of time, 3-4 hours, maybe more a day. And nobody sees your posts. So it gets a little discouraging. So I'm moving to YouTube and podcasts. So my podcasts are just going to be, I do some short ones that are like maybe between 10 and 15 minutes. And I do one that's like 30 minutes. And it's just what I do on my social platforms. I'm just sharing what I do in my life, instructing, guiding. But I know at least putting some time into those platforms, it's a lot better. People are seeing it. And I have the stats. I can go check the analytics, and it's more informative, eh?
Yeah.
So that's why I started the podcast. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in a sense, podcasting kind of is more of the future sense of things. There's tons of issues left and right when it comes to social media. You've got, on top of the censorship and all of the shadow banning and stuff, you do have, like, Facebook's practically crumbling. Like we talk about that pretty frequently. Like, they're losing money quicker than they can shake a stick at it. And Twitter's a wild place to be right now with Elon Musk taking over, of course. And I was actually just talking to a previous guest that I had recently in some messages about the shadow banning and stuff, and she asked me, she's like, well, how do you get through it? And I was just like, I just keep posting. Like, I mean, I understand that people might not see it or whatever, or it might do good on one platform or not another or whatever, but I just kind of keep posting.
Well, it's not just that. I think it's the decline in society's trust in like mainstream media. If you've noticed, like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, it's just your news platforms have even talk shows. The numbers have taken a steep drop. People don't get any type of information really from those news sources anymore. They go to your independent broadcasters, podcasts, and people's websites online. It's just the way things are going.
I mean, there's now one tactic some people are doing, which is still a hard tactic, is they just create new accounts constantly. So some people will have 20 accounts, and then basically they're playing, let's see what the hell, who sticks in the course of like throwing out content. Let's see who goes stronger first.
We actually know somebody that does that. Unsuccessfully, I might add, but he does it. But when you get, I mean, I guess, when you're suffering from social media was about, I think it's peak. I think social media, as far as we know, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, has peaked already.
I agree with that.
It's peaked already.
Well, and, the podcast thing, I guess that's why I've stayed on the game as far as just constantly posting content. I made mention of this in the opening segment that I filmed, that like I do put out a lot of episodes. I don't release them almost every single day like I was. I'll kind of give it a space, maybe every other day, maybe every 2 days with the podcast episodes, but there's still a plethora of content there now, for you to pick and choose from. Like this is the 151st episode. And I mean, I think we were still in double digits the last time you were around, Jody. I just keep kind of pumping them out just because.
And also Yeah, and also what's nice is like we have the freedom to touch on subjects that might be too like sensitive for Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. We can touch on those subjects here.
80% of the episodes probably would get banned.
Oh, in a heartbeat. Oh my God, in a heartbeat. There's
like
been some
one
episodes
segment that will get you automatically banned every time.
Yeah, there are at least 80% of our episodes would have been instantly just like censored if we would have posted them up on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. I mean, it's ridiculous that they don't allow you to these subjects. Some of the subjects we've talked about needed to be talked about, and it's just
we should one day try to find
nope, we're not doing this.
People that went through this phase, because the Chinese went through this.
True.
The very same thing we're going through right now. The Chinese went through this in the 2000s and the 2010s. Because it was under Xi Jinping where everything started to fall apart. So it's been in the last 10 years or so that this has happened. So there's some Chinese that were speaking out and like speaking out to the world, and they slowly got disintegrated from the internet, just deleted.
But I think that's a great thing about with the podcast and type aspect of it, because you're using Anchor, and I know that puts you in a few places and stuff, and we use Podbean over here too. On top of all that other stuff, yeah,
I'm on there as well. I think.
That has scattered us across so many platforms that even if I was to get taken off of Google Podcasts, well, I'm still over here on this one too. So it's just like now I've got it peppered everywhere.
Also, if you do what we're doing in China, they will show up, take you out of your house, and put you in a labor camp.
Sure, yeah.
And in the UK, they will write you a ticket, and maybe make you show up for court for doing this.
No, so it's gotten worse since Count Dankula. Count Dankula was just the guy.
Oh my God, he's still on Twitter. He's still on Twitter. I can't believe he still is.
That's
YouTube?
Just one.
I just can't believe he's still around though.
Because he generally wasn't that controversial in the first place. Like what he did was funny.
He got more controversial. Yeah.
Yeah, he got
more controversial when they went after him.
People are getting shadow banned. People are getting shadow banned for doing really simple things. Like I got they didn't ban me, but I got restricted for 27 days on Facebook. And I couldn't even contest it. And you know what? It's happening to a lot of people now. They just
they're digging back.
They want to squash
this is the
everybody.
Stupidest part. Why are you digging back on a story post that nobody can see?
That's what I'm saying. They're digging back. Like I'm getting notifications that's something that I put, because this is the first Facebook account that I've had that's lasted more than a year.
Years ago. Yeah.
But now I'm getting things that are like, oh, you posted this last year and it's wrong. Here's your 30 days vacation from Facebook.
Yeah, that's it.
Gummit. Like here it goes again.
Yeah, they got Jimmy and I, a page that we do on Facebook. They got us one time for a post that was a year and a half old. And I was like, you can't even go back that far on the news feed to find it.
I know.
I don't.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I was working social media. I had 14 platforms at one time. And I posted over 20,000 posts last year, and I just can't put the time into it anymore. You know?
You need to hire a social media.
They nuked my I was sad when they nuked my TikTok. I made it up to 100, and they capped me at 140, close to 145,000. I was hearing
from other people that so they get followers, but they don't show it.
Yes.
So other people were mentioning the same thing, that they were getting more followers than the follower count that was showing, because they were actually looking at directly at the number and then got people to follow, and it wasn't changing. So it's
they for some reason on certain people's profiles, and this happens to a lot of people. Especially on TikTok, this seems to be a thing that I've been finding out about. They're capping your followers. So mine was stuck at 144 and some change for months. And I was like, but I get new followers every single day. But then it was like, well, we also take followers when you're inactive. And I'm just like, okay. But like it just never moved. And then I started hearing other, then they got my account, of course. But I started hearing other people talk about how you can, like he just said, you can sit there and watch it and the counter's not going. And they're saying, oh, your genre or whatever, they're capping you. Like they're, because of the things you're talking about, they're just not going to allow
Well, one of the
your
easiest
numbers to go up.
you can be doing a live, and then you'll see the counter of how many people follow you, but then the other counter doesn't change.
So it's wild. You know what? And it's funny to me to see them wanting to block somebody like Jody, because like I follow him on YouTube. I see his shorts pretty much every single day when he's coming by, and like, you're recently you've been talking about the different crystals and orbs, and I seen you talking about some fairies the other day and stuff too. And
Yeah, that's like, that's content from my book, eh? The first book that I wrote, yeah.
And I'm just like, what? Like, why are they even wanting to go after somebody like you? You're a chill, peaceful fellow that isn't really out here trying to ruffle any feathers. You know what I mean?
I think it's because it helps people. It makes them happy. It's supportive. They don't want any of that.
You're a quack.
Yeah,
that's what you are.
It is.
You are. You're a quack. You are spreading medical misinformation.
Yeah.
Oh,
dude, I could feel, Luis. I could feel your eyes roll from here, man.
It's just like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, everybody no, they didn't violate any rules, even though they literally propagated it to millions.
To get anywhere on social media, like to get those millions of followers or even hundreds of thousands of followers now, you have to toe the line or you're out.
Well, one thing I don't do on social media is they say, we recommend that you do this. We recommend that you change your account to this. I found by doing that, I can't do it because they shut me down as soon as I did it. There's another platform. I opened their account, their business account. I did what they said, shadow banned as soon as I did it. And I know because I used to get like 5,000 followers in a week when I first went on these platforms, and it just shut right off, eh?
Well, that means you have content that people want to witness. And what's happening, though, is the positive is there is new spaces that are forming and developing slowly, and it takes time for the transition to happen.
Yes, Luis.
One of the weirdest
ones.
Well, I have to fight with that thing, but I'm also commerce based. But yeah, it's not easy, but there's going to be new challengers coming in the next few years, especially against, Rumble alone is going to grow and keep growing as YouTube. You saw what YouTube just did. They demonetized any video that had any form of a slur or a bad word if they said it in the first few minutes and sometimes the first few seconds, but they're actually applying it to the first 5 minutes. They were saying 30 seconds, but they're like, no, it was 5 minutes in. And they're retroactively applying that to millions of videos and just demonetizing them. Policies, they said things they said they would not do. They would not retroactively apply a policy, and they're retroactively applying a policy. They're basically destroying their own system from the inside out. I don't know if it's somebody internally sabotaging their system, but no advertiser gives any fucks if by accident their video shows up in a video that somebody said fuck. They don't care. What advertiser cares? What advertiser complained? Then exclude that page from your system. It's that easy.
Well, it's comical, that they go after things like that, but yet, there's quite the plethora of CP still all over Twitter,
Facebook
and Facebook and these other social media platforms.
Evidently, Mastodon is covered in it.
And the minute you point, out these atrocities, because I call them atrocities, like the minute you point them out, your page gets targeted. Like you're the bad guy.
You're speaking out against the machine. You're speaking out against the machine.
They're gonna ban even saying CP soon. They're not banning saying CP because they can't, but they eventually will try.
Sure. And like I follow that group that and I message them all the time. And if they're checking out, if this happens to be the episode they're checking out, hey, you guys, I totally support you. But I'm always following that group, like the Gays Against Groomers, and they have had, this is an example of this, is they have had their merch store deleted, like
Printify,
that's like the second or third company to stop it because groomer is hate speech.
Let's talk about like the creator of probably one of the most persecuted on social media, the creator of Libs of TikTok.
Yeah.
All she's doing is reposting stuff that was posted by other people and adding one line to it. That's all she's doing.
That's all she's doing. And
she's reposting. She's not creating new content. Or she's writing words on top of it.
People like that don't want, they don't want to be put on blast.
But why would you post it if you don't want to be published? That's the counterpoint. Is
I know
it's so stupid in their brains. I'm like, if you don't want people to share it, then don't share it.
That's true. Like, I mean, to me, there's just no other way around that, other than, like you said, if you don't want people to share it, don't share it. It's taken me a minute to get adjusted to Twitter over there. I've been hanging out a lot over there recently, and
dude, you should go hog wild over there because
there's
all your
more...
memes would be RPG over there.
Oh, I know. I repost a lot of this stuff. I repost a lot of this stuff over there, and it goes good. It goes real good, especially when you get in with the right crowd over on Twitter. And you don't even necessarily have to get a check mark to.
But the thing is, the pay to play is because you get top ranked in the comments.
Yes, and that would be the only thing like business oriented. If you like pay to play on Twitter, do Twitter Blue. I think that's what it's called, right? Twitter Blue.
Mm-hmm. Twitter Blue, yeah. It makes sense for some people, so it's not that terrible because you also get less ads and you also get the extended option for videos and higher quality video.
Yep. It has turned back into what TikTok used to be, the Wild West. Don't get me wrong. The dark side of TikTok is still there. The Wild West side of TikTok is still there. But all of Twitter is like that now. It's like the armpit of social media.
Well, if you know, Mastodon is the armpit. And you just said Mastodon.
Speaking of, we're not with the amount of CP, but I'm talking about just content in general. Twitter is a cesspool. You can reach a lot of people on Twitter, though. A lot of people.
I think the only way this could end eventually is if when a convention of states happens, that there is laws instilled to ensure the freedom of expression on the internet, on platforms to a degree of size.
That's why I've been kind of digging and researching into the pirate party here recently. Because, I mean, we're pirates here as it is, and I think those guys are kind of neat. Actually, we're studying into a little bit of them, and they stand big time for your freedom of speech online. Like they think that there needs to be less government.
Any platform over X amount of millions of users cannot censor speech. By the way, Jim, if you lived in Texas, they have to unban you from all the platforms, right?
Really?
Yeah, I forgot about that law.
Well, I don't want to go to Texas.
They can't ban you.
Don't move to Texas. That's not worth it.
I mean, if they can't ban you,
it's not worth it. That's not a sweet enough deal to get me to move back to Texas. I lived in Texas for a few years. It's not. It's not a sweet enough deal.
So I believe Texas passed a law that says that the platforms can not ban you if you're a citizen of Texas. You can look up the details, but I'm not sure if it's currently. I believe it's currently on, and that's how people like Crowder cannot get banned now.
Ugh.
I know he's not the greatest person to mention, but Crowder is
Texas has made it illegal.
Active.
So
Crowder cannot get banned, and Crowder really does have 6 million subscribers, like active millions. He gets,
I know.
an average of 2 to 4 million views per video. So he is his followers are real. Those are real people, and they're active. So that's what I mean. So and that should apply nationwide, to be perfectly honest. It's not nationwide. You do this nationwide, you will see drastically that majority online is actually the minority.
Now, our buddy Spike Cohen that was on the show here a little while ago and stuff, he likes to point out on a constant basis that people in positions of political influence and that work for the government, like police and, lawyers even and such, that it was ruled in multiple different, grand jury cases or whatever, that these officials cannot, that it is illegal for these officials to block or remove your comments pertaining to anything pertaining to them when it comes to like the political office, or like most recently with that officer that's trying to cover up his daughter's DUI where, she destroyed a whole bunch of stuff and let her off with a warning. And yeah, and it's I think that it's when it comes to stuff like that, I think that's absolutely true. Like these people that are supposed to be representing us definitely shouldn't be able to delete our voice, let alone be able to silence our social media and stuff. And and again, kind of back to what I was saying, like I see what Jody's got going on over there, man. And he sells his crystals and stuff like that, and he talks with spirituality and his books and stuff like that. It's just like, to me, when I look at the things that I post,
it does make you wonder,
like things what that he posts, like it makes me wonder what exactly is Jody, what information exactly is Jody out there pushing that is so sensitive to these big tech companies? You know what I mean? I think it's worth a divulge. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so. I do find it interesting. And I don't know. It's again because compared me and you and maybe not Luis. I know he's kind of conservative in some aspects of the way he thinks he shares, but like I'm full throttle, like there's, you don't know what's coming on my pages, whether it's going to be an episode of the show or some meme out of left field that you're just like, what is this dude doing right now? Like Luis the other night asking me why when I was posting that forehead. Oh man,
that famous forehead, not everybody would recognize. But Jody, what do you think has been the most controversial thing you've posted that really wasn't controversial?
I don't know, because I just really post things from my life, right? Yeah. Like I don't research things and repost it, and I'm just sharing things I've lived. Like I'm 63, so things I've learned in my life I share on social media, and yeah, you got lots of stuff. There's my YouTube.
Like when you go over to his YouTube, most of these are, him just giving thoughtful words and stuff, or talking about these different crystals that he's got going on, or his little Arcturian devices. Like he's always talking about those too. And it's just like what is such the sensitive information that even somebody like yourself is being targeted by big tech. I guess I get it from my end, like as far as like why I get censored.
But crystals, I mean, there's tons of channels that talk about this stuff and then go into weird stuff that makes no sense. That then I'm like, oh, okay, I get why you're saying it, but if you're
I don't get it. I can't figure it out. I made a video today. I planted garlic in my garage yesterday in containers because I watched a video that you can grow garlic inside. And
yeah, you can.
I'll get shut down for that because what really put the rope around my neck was I was making a lot of posts about outside gardening and sustainability and certain words you can't use because they just don't want it.
That's where they'll get you, is posting about sustainability.
Yeah.
They're going to eventually ban growing your own crops. In several states, they were trying to pass bills to prevent you by getting a license. What that was that state, Jim? Do you remember that? What state was requesting licenses when it comes to growing of crops?
Had it been California?
Probably.
Statistically, it's California, right?
So I just keep moving around. That's why I'm trying the podcast now. We'll see how it goes. And as I move to a new one, I shut something down. Like I had a Teachable channel, and it was costing me like over 600 Canadian a year to have it. So I just had to dump it because you can only hang on for so long, right? I think a lot of the people that watch social media, they think it's all free. They don't know the commitment that real creators have in what they do. In equipment and time and effort
and demonetization is a crime. It is literally taking away the bread from the individual. We have to create. That's why I was saying, like, when a convention of states happen, which statistically it should happen soon, because of the turmoil that's happening in government, a convention of states is inevitable. When a convention of states does happen in the next 5 years, it has to come to the table that the censorship of this type can no longer exist. But the main amendment that needs to be placed is the government by no means no banking institution may ever take away the rights of the individual to do any commerce or to interact on the internet in any form or way. If the United States were to put that in the Constitution, people would stay in the United States. People would like thrive.
Oh yeah.
All they have to do is stop the censorship, and everybody's going to love coming here. Because look at Europe. Europe is censored to the... What isn't censored in Europe?
I'm in Canada.
Oh.
Yeah, he's up there with our buddy
Canada's
John.
also a mess. Yeah. Canada's a fucking mess.
Yep.
Castro Jr. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry you got it.
Oh, man. Trudeau is something, man. Oh, my God. He is something. Not much worse than what we got going on down here. I mean,
we have a fucking senile puppet. And Joker.
Yeah.
I think the whole world is in some kind of crazy situation.
I do, but
even
like I see you a lot of talking about, about how, change starts small and, you can change things with yourself and, that can grow to help change the world and stuff. Like I think I've
one
seen
mind
myself,
at a time.
I've seen myself, like, especially since getting into the podcast world and seeing all the other podcasts that are going on and all of the people I've talked to these past 150 episodes, and the conversations we've had, like I personally have seen like a shift, just like an entire shift in the mentality of a lot of things. They may do something one day up there that you see and they're trying to talk about it in the news, but it takes the internet warriors like ourselves out there making memes and stuff like that and making counter arguments to all this stuff to usually debunk their nonsense within days, and now left and right you're seeing everything that we were getting heatedly banned for a couple of years ago coming out completely true, and along with articles like, how did the unjab know this was coming and why didn't they warn us? What? Like, do you know how many accounts I lost in those 3 years?
I believe it.
It is about accounts. Like you were saying about the monetization down there, Luis. My TikTok was actually a monetized TikTok. Like they paid me monthly. It wasn't squat. Don't get me wrong. When it first started, I was getting, I was getting like $200 to $300, but there towards the end, I was lucky to make $5 in the month. But just the fact that it was still there, and then they just kind of deleted it with no warning or no chance to get it back or anything like that, and made me start.
See, the thing is, when they take that money away, I mean, some people use this as like a extra monthly income on top of like maybe like a work at home job or something like that. This is like, a lot of people do this. This is to pay bills, man. This is not extra money.
What is it now? 66% of the population cannot afford a $400 emergency.
Oh yeah.
True.
Yeah. Well, that ain't no joke.
So that's 220 million people.
Yep.
220 million people in the United States are in poverty. Great job, US. Great job.
Well, it's up here too in Canada. That's why with all the content I try to make, there's a lot of people telling people how bad it is and this is going to happen. So my whole vision is just to try to give people hope and encourage them and try and bring them along. Let them know they're not alone. But I know up here there's some real people in some hardship situations.
We have
You know,
we have a new correspondent kind of fellow that comes on weekly over here that is from Canada actually. Everybody on here knows him as Uncle Johnny or Canadian John, depending on the mood that he's in that day. And he has kind of built himself as an alternative news source for Canada, and even down here in America, he's got his feet in the ground pretty good around here. And he's bringing us up to date stuff a lot of the time too, and that's something that I think we push when he is on a lot is, yeah, this is going on, but look over here at these great, progressive steps we're making in alternative directions. We've since the last time you come on, man, we've met some people that are doing some great things in science. We've met some people that are doing some great things in like just philosophy and stuff like that, and so a lot of interesting characters along the way too. And the one common denominator I've found though is that, like, at the bottom line is we're all the same. Like, yeah, I don't care what walk of life you are, what imaginary line you live behind, what color your skin is, like we're all the same. Like there's so many little nitpick things that you do in your everyday life that people don't realize. So does that guy. So does Bandit. So does Louise. So does Jody. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much that we are the same. And I think that, like you mentioned earlier, Bandit, the people leaving like Fox News and ABC and CBS and stuff behind is because there is a larger portion of the world population that can see through the horse shit. I know when you look at Twitter and you look at Americans here on Twitter, you've got quite the hefty amount of Twitter Americans that are still thinking that an AR-15 means assault rifle 15, and yet they can't function properly without being told what to do. Where you have people in countries worldwide that are taking stances for themselves. I mean, even here though too, but like just I don't think I've seen the stance taken here that I've seen taken in places like down in South America and even over in China and stuff like that, where the people are taking to the streets and they're like, we're fed up with this shit, like we got to do something different.
The whole world is shifting power,
Yes.
and the good thing about it is because everything's happening simultaneously, a lot of people around the world are feeling the support from other parts of the planet. So I think truly that this grand change is coming, and it takes us to speak up. It takes us to
It's going to come quick. It's going to come quick.
Down. So it doesn't turn into totalitarian hell. It turns into the potential utopia we can create for the human race, at least the best proximity we can attempt to create for ourselves. I know utopia, the concept is impossible, but
I mean,
we can collectively, the majority of us, live in some form of peace and collective prosperity for the entirety of the planet. It's
I don't know. I mean, I truly believe that, but at the same time, I also believe that you can't here's where the idea of globalization falls along the same lines to me as the idea of the United States federal government. You can't put one set of blanket rules over the top of every culture. You know what I'm saying? Like there's definitely going to be differences depending on which end of the planet you're hanging out on.
I mean, and that's what I've been trying, right? That's what NAFTA was. That's what the WTO is.
Oh, I haven't heard that one in a while, man.
What, WTO?
NAFTA.
NAFTA? Well, NAFTA changed under Trump. They actually changed it so we didn't get ass fucked. But still, it's still gutter trash. Basically, and then we Biden signed the agreement to get everything started for the North American Union and the Amero. That's coming.
They've been telling me that's coming since what, like the early 2000s?
This just happened. This happened 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago.
I mean, they signed it into being. They claimed years ago, or whatever.
But that's how the European Union got started. That's the reason why they're warning. It's like, this is how the European Union got started.
I always tell people to meditate, because when you meditate, you can see to the core of what things are about. And we can take to the streets all we want with millions of people and do whatever. But if we're still going to go and use the self-checkout and our bank cards and everything else, we're supporting the system.
Well,
we need to pay cash. We need to go to cashiers. We need to, anything that makes life more convenient for us tightens the rope around our neck. So we can't say one thing. Things get lost for years in writing things up and negotiating. By the time they let you go to the negotiating table, the deal's already done. Then we the people, it's the money. Where you choose to spend your money is what's creating this world outside.
Yeah, that's like I make mention about kind of what I call our friends in Liberty over there that kind of help sponsor the show and stuff. People that I give shout outs that are alternatives to the nonsense that we see peddled to us by big corporation and stuff like that on a regular basis. And, I encourage you to spend with these smaller companies, these local companies as much as you can. And I'm a big advocate for cash. Like we joke about this all the time. I'm always like, wait, you guys are still using banks. Like I'm good. I've seen how places like Bank of America are just going to take your money from you, and I'm good. I'd rather have a physical item than a digital number that they can delete with a backspace button really quick.
Well, you got to work with what you have. You have to do as much as you can with what you've got. You can't farm and live completely self-sufficient if you live in a city. But you can in turn do, you can in turn do as much as you can. You know what I mean?
Well, you're
you can do as much as you can.
Mr. Suburban Gardener there. Like,
you can do as much as you can with what you got.
You can do a lot with what we have available.
You can. You really can.
But the problem is people are not even understanding of how electricity is generated. Like, really, go out, ask anybody. This is a simple way. Like, how does electricity go from power plant to you? What happens? Just try to see how bare bones they can get. And I understand not everybody's going to know, but you can simply say, hot thing is burned. Hot thing moves turbine through steam water. Turbine turns, generates electricity through magnets, and then it's sent into another thing.
In a big
That's
portion,
kind of the simplest, dumbest way of describing it.
A big portion of the electricity in the state of Georgia is run off of the river system. Georgia Power
So you're pretty much a hydroelectric state.
Georgia Power has multiple dams at a lot of these lakes and stuff. And just about every one of these lakes that were, again, I like to point out that were man-made, because there are no natural lakes in the state of Georgia, not a single one. All these man-made lakes where they brought all these rivers together and stuff and dammed them up. And then at the end of that dam, they created a new river. And flowing off that new river is generating electricity. Lake Jackson, Lake Sinclair, Lake Lanier,
Well,
West
I was
Point
having
Lake and stuff down near Alabama. Every one of them and more produce some sort of electrical current through the water rotation ordeal, the hydroelectric type deal. And like I'm a big advocate for that. You can actually see from my new crib, you can see sometimes if you're at the right angle up on the hill when you're driving down the highway, you can see the nuclear power plant way off in the distance.
The water out of the power plant is clean.
Sure. I'm not saying it's not. And they, we have a lot of that. We do have a couple. I think we do have like one coal-based place down in South Georgia, but the irony of that is the town that is coal-based kind of comes off of the only river in the entire state that we do not have a dam system built on, because even though I give him a ton of flack and I think that he was one of the worst tyrants we've ever seen in our lifetime here in America, FDR did stop them from damming the Flint River. And it is the only river that comes off the Chattahoochee and runs all the way to the ocean without a single dam in it whatsoever. But it did make a lot of that area in the west end of the state not run off of the hydroelectric power like the rest of the state did.
Bandit, didn't you say your daughter was working on something and she determined it was about 6, 7 reactors per state would power the entire United States? You're muted. You're muted.
That wasn't my daughter. That was a kid online that had done a project for his school and showed it was actually less than that. It was actually three to four nuclear power plants would be sufficient enough to there'd be no issues, none whatsoever. It's about 3 to 4 nuclear power plants. And
it would be carbon neutral.
Yeah, carbon neutral. There'd be no issues with power. None. Not even for California.
Oh, so Japan, one of the top people in Japan just declared, we got to stop electric cars because by in a few years, our entire power grid won't sustain it. So for the first time, finally, a politician does the math. Wait, if we had this many electric cars, what's the drop of our electric car? We're not going to have enough power.
I mean, yeah. But not just that, you know, I'm totally against destroying the Congo the way that they're doing for everything that's there. So
yeah, and the rock video, I believe that's cobalt, but I couldn't find anybody discussing it. Some people are saying it was graphite also, like a big chunk of graphite.
Have you I've been seeing a video going around a lot recently about Haiti and them having like this extraterrestrial rock there, like Haiti? In the mountains. Yeah, like that's. I mean, that's why they said
that was a meteor. That was a meteorite had hit, and there were 3 elements in it that they found that rock that was supposedly a meteorite, and there are 3 elements in that rock that aren't found.
Oh, well, I saw something about it that it was not discovered on. I just didn't know it was in Haiti. So yeah, it was unknown to Earth. Elements that were not known to Earth, right? Oh, it happened in Haiti, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's an untouched mineral that's worth, 20. Well, it's not that it's untouched even, but it's worth over 20 billion, like in its form. But I was watching this lady, and I wish I could find the video again. I can't find it again, but I was watching this lady. She's from Haiti, and she said in the 80s, you had contractors from, private contractors from all over wearing UN uniforms down there, and they were mining this one deposit of whatever it is that's supposedly from this meteorite, and like they're the only place in the world that has this, and this is why there's so much controversy and like the Clintons' involvement and stuff like that in Haiti is because they're digging up all of this element and taking it for other things.
I mean,
for space stuff. That's what it was. It was for space equipment. NASA.
I'd like to see more about it, but I can tell you Haiti has been destroyed by lots of external forces, and all the Haitians hate the Clintons. I ask any Haitian, real Haitian, and they're like, we hate them. We know what they did. We know how they stole billions of dollars. We all know this. Like, it's not a question for them. It's more like, why do you guys support that crazy lunatic?
True. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much that's been and dealt with that. I don't want to hop back over here, Jody. I want to know what kind of if you got any like big plans and stuff coming up with this year on your work and stuff like that, or if you'd mentioned that you were closing down.
Just waiting for the mothership to come back and get me out of here. I don't know. I'm just trying to reach out into my communities, trying to get some more face-to-face kind of interaction, because that's the only thing I can control. All the rest of this stuff, anything that I got to click and go into my computer to get to, I don't have control over it. And ultimately, they can shut you down no matter where you are. So I think it's now because, we have more freedom up here. We can get out and go around. It's not like it was in the last several years. So we're reaching out and, I got some yoga studios interested. I do all my meditations and I do some really cool energy stuff. So that's what I just want to get out, work on a small level. Creator tells me that if I get banned, I can't share what I have with the world. So I got to tippy toe around and go and do my thing. So I'm getting the information to go on a walk somewhere. I don't know where, you know.
I was giving some advice to a friend that is trying to rebuild, their platforms again because they got nuked recently, and they were like, "You're the only person I know that knows how to rebuild on stuff like that." And I'm just like, look, you got to start studying words. You got to look for when you're talking about tiptoeing right there. A thesaurus is your best friend when it comes to like me making TikTok videos and even some of the things that I say here on this show. You've got to finesse the words in such a way that you can get around some of that stuff, or even just make up words along the way as you go. Like I've I haven't called space aids by its real name in a long time.
I mean, the coof is better than space aids. Come on,
true.
space aids is too aggressive. You got the word AIDS, even though that was a candy from the 80s.
True. But it still doesn't get me. It still doesn't get me any flack. Like, if you put C and 19 together in the same sentence, you know what I'm saying? Like it. And then I take it as far as everybody picks at the way I pronounce things, but I promise you a lot of times I do it on purpose, like the way that I say Trudeau, because I say his name wrong on purpose. And then like there's other things that I touch on, like Winnie, and everybody here in the group, I know Jody probably doesn't know who I'm referencing, but I'm usually talking about that
the
dude
Pooh
over there.
Bear.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh over there in China. And people are like, well, why are you doing that? I'm like, because kind of like you just said there, like I feel that the message is important and I still want to get it out there. So
it's like fracking from Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
I fracking can't believe this. I do find the finesse of how they decided we're gonna create this language so we can swear on television. I found that so eloquent. And because they were the first ones to truly do it aggressively.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And they did such a good job at it, and I think that's very inspirational in its own and kind of this aspect of doing this because, I can still get the message out there and make it funny. And my favorite tip I actually think came from Luis is, what are you guys even talking about? This isn't even C-137. This is a different universe and this is a whole parody thing. So, there's no reason that you can come in here and say that I'm talking directly about something that
I definitely say you should work to construct it in that manner completely. That way, narrative wise, they say, "Oh, but you're speaking about the news." I'm like, "No, we're for entertainment purposes only. We are a fictional construct. Like this is not based on this current reality."
Believe me, I'm in a pirate hat and I'm constantly making cheesy jokes, so I'm pretty sure they get the point.
But I believe through the narrative play, but that's the problem, right? Because even on social media, you'll find that sometimes even narratives are censored.
True.
It is rare, but sometimes when they hit the story right on the head, like they suddenly like, nope, ban. Especially when they cut a section off. Like I'm sure certain clips from X-Files will be eventually censored.
Sure. Well, okay, you want to talk about like them kind of telling on themselves. I sent this to one of our meme page group chats earlier today. It was one of us getting in trouble for something that we had posted. And the funny thing about it is here's the post. And they said, well, no, but this is what it's supposed to say. Can someone please show me the difference? Because I've looked at it a dozen times now and I can't see the difference in the post other than the little face over here in the corner because it looks like the actual news article and the actual meme say the exact same thing. But they're telling me that it goes against community standards because it's false information. Questioning it? Like I'm like, what do you mean?
No,
like,
the best one is when they fact check themselves.
That's what this is. And they fact checked it with the same exact article that says it word for word. That's what the picture was. They're put side by side. I'll pull it back up real quick. So there's one up here at the top. This was the post. Like this appears.
Oh, but read for the audio one. Read what it says.
And it says that the German government claims that investigating COVID vaccines would be dangerous for our democracy. And you go down and they said, and it's actually citing a post that's archived here in the News Punch article, which is German government claims investigating COVID vaccine would be dangerous for democracy. What's the difference? Like, I haven't figured out what the difference in the post and the actual news article is that they had to fact check it and put me what is it that they say, Bandit? They put us to the bottom of the news feed for the next 3,000 days because it just keeps piling on every time they do that.
It doesn't matter. We eventually make it. We don't get reach banned at most for, they say they're going to reach ban us for like 30 days. We'll get that notification. It'll be 30 days. Maybe move to the bottom of the feed, and then a day later we'll be right back up at the top. Doesn't matter.
That's because we've got some of the greatest memes on the internet in this team that we built.
Sometimes you go spicy, too spicy, and you know, man. You know that's what they don't like. They don't like it spicy. They don't like it spicy. They're very white in that sense.
I do, and I have, sitting here kind of thinking about it. I have seen, a couple other people that I talked to that I've talked to in the past on the show that I even talked to with you. Like, I'm not sure if you remember that time when I had you on when like I had Goddess Mama on here and stuff too. She gets a lot of flack still too from shadow bans and stuff like that. I think the common denominator that I see there, might not be the crystals or whatever, but you guys do both talk and push about like meditation and stuff a lot. And
how is meditation controversial?
I'm a firm believer in it, but I think it's controversial because it centers you and gives you more answers to reality than anything else.
It awakens your mind to like the nonsense you're living each day, like meditation. Anything to do with centering yourself and awakening your mind is frowned upon because they want you, they want you blindly obedient to what's going on. They can only do that if your mind's cloudy.
Well, that's what the fluoride's for. Don't drink the water.
Don't drink the water. I don't drink the water.
No, man.
I go to a spring and get my water.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Wish.
I do get it sourced from a good source, but if you can, Berkey's.
I got one.
Yeah, so you have to actually add minerals. It's so good. It filters it out to the point it's borderline distilled.
Yeah.
So Berkey's, and there's other filtering methods. If you can afford it, it's worth it for your health. The amount of contaminants, the amount of pharmaceuticals in the water.
The forever drugs that are lost there.
Forget the fluoride. The pharmaceuticals in the water, the microplastics in the water. Also, a company in Japan, again, Japan with the innovation when it comes to recycling and processing, they figured out how to eliminate microplastics from the water. And at a very fast pace, at a very, very, very fast pace. So we are able soon in the next decade to clean up the oceans. We are able to clean up our rivers. We are able to clean up our lakes. We're able to clean up almost everything. But unless nuclear power becomes the de facto norm, we cannot continue our surge pushing forward. That's the problem, is we can move forward, but we need limitless energy to then also fix the problems we've created. It's energy that produces the solutions.
It's those little lights in the outlet sockets and the little lights on the VCRs and those little lights that stay on all the time. And I go back to, like we were talking earlier about the appliance business. Up here in Canada, they had so much time to get rid of the pilot lights in the furnaces because they used too much gas. So they went to electronic ignition. Yeah.
Oh, so we're just following the Canadian. You're just following Canadian logic. That's why.
So there's no. Well, yeah, but can you imagine if you have 5 million homes with little pilot lights burning all the time?
Sure,
all the fuel burn.
Sure. Well, I know a lot of the modern gas stoves. I change a lot of igniters. Like that's a common part change that I can do throughout the day. Like service wise is. They took out the pilot light idea and they did put these little electric igniters in there. They're basically glow plugs, like they're in a pickup.
That's what I've got.
Yeah.
Yeah, my stove doesn't have a pilot light. The only thing that has a pilot light in my house is the furnace, and the furnace turns off in a certain time of the year The furnace doesn't have anything running.
Well, the pilot light's still burning.
Not in the summertime.
Not unless you shut the gas off. You got to shut the gas off.
Most people, I shut the gas off.
He's in New York City. He probably has to.
I haven't seen a pilot light in a gas stove since like the 90s.
Well, so there was something called a town gas in England. It was a different type of gas, and I was hearing about the story. I forgot what book this was. This was like a few weeks ago. And what was fascinating is people committed suicide with pilot gas because it was easier. So people would commonly put their heads in the oven and just die of suffocation through the gas. Because of the new type of gas, they couldn't do that anymore. So evidently, there we go.
Town gas is the term to refer to the type of gas used to power the UK before the year 1967. This town gas was manufactured in power plants, most often from coal, in the decades of the 1950s. Reserves of natural gas were discovered in the North Sea, and at the time, electricity was a more popular option for energy supply than town gas. This is part due to the fact that electricity could be supplied via the grid, yada yada. A town gas was abandoned in favor for natural gas from these North Sea reserves. And it does go down further in here.
Safer, cleaner. It's safer and cleaner. You basically can't commit suicide with propane, but you can with town gas. It's a very smooth exit, evidently. And that's so. And remember, cars, the catalytic converter. If you take a car from the 50s and you put it in your garage and you just leave it on, you will die. You do this with a modern car, nothing's going to happen to you. The catalytic converters filter out so much of the negative toxins, you're going to be fine.
And that's why people are stealing them.
No, they're stealing them because they're full of platinum.
Because of the platinum.
Yeah, no, the palladium.
That too.
It's not
the palladium and the platinum.
Well, the platinum is a byproduct of the palladium is what's more valuable to like
it went up
stealing
in price
them
recently.
than the platinum. Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh, well, it went up so high that the exchange closed.
But back at the gas thing though. Go ahead, Bandit. I'm sorry.
No. I was just saying it's like the price to replace. Like if you don't have if your insurance or like anything will cover it for you, catalytic converters are like $1,000 a pop to replace on newer cars.
We had somebody get into the work parking lot, and not my truck because I bring my truck home, but the trucks that stay at the shop, they took the catalytic converters off of the big work trucks, the big box trucks, and now the boss has wire cages around them underneath the truck because
and see the thing is
that
it's like again. If somebody was to do that to my truck, that wouldn't piss me off. That would piss my neighbors off because then I would just straight pipe my truck and it would piss off my neighbors. That's just the thing though. But see, also, I mean, you doing something like that because I can do almost everything myself. That's no skin off my back, man. I can take care of myself. I don't have to send it to a repair shop or anything like that.
Well, but and then I was kind of going back to that gas thing. You were talking about propane there, Luis. When you get into like in town and into a lot of the towns in here, a lot of people still are on natural gas, but out in the country, we all fill our propane tanks, and that it varies from year to year. This past year, it only cost me $300 to fill it up, which I don't think that's too bad because that's literally for the year for me because. The only thing that runs off propane is the stove. Like for
an entire year, that's dead cheap. Forget about it. That is insanely cheap. And people also don't understand how cheap gas is in the United States compared to the planet.
Well, and then also going back to our buddy Julian, I've been seeing him recently, and he's turning styrofoam into natural gas like all day long.
I mean. And Julian, he's getting. I think he's progressively getting more positive. I saw he was doing a live. So Julian, if you're not seeing Jody, He is 19 years old. He worked on inventing a new type of pyrolysis with microwaves. So pyrolysis is the methodology of converting matter from one state to another through heat. But he was able to convert plastics into different types by different temperatures and different sources. So different plastics turn into different sources of fuel. This was technology that was invented 13 years ago by a Japanese engineer, and he just took it and advanced it further with microwaves, because the technology that was back then was not with microwaves. So he evolved the technology forward, creating a new innovation, making it more efficient and affordable and compactable and potentially in every way. This kid is studying it since he was 15 years old. He was studying the subject, and now he has patents in process.
And he's self-taught.
Yeah, he's self-taught. He's likely already PhD level for some people in the field, because he's also a welder. Like, he is a chemist, an engineer, and a welder. He's everything. All in that amazing mind of his. He's a wonderful.
And see, the thing is, he would be one that I would expect them to come after and censor.
No, because it's technology that's profitable. At the end of the day,
but that's right why I would expect him to be censored, is because, like, somebody wants that for themselves, they're going to get him censored.
Well, that's the thing. It's too profitable to not. Like, it's more profitable to expand on his business. I understand the oil industry has censored efficiency, and that's kind of the ridiculous element of it. Like, why were we censoring the efficiency possibilities? So you're telling me we could build cars that can run 100 miles per gallon? We could have done that decades ago, and we haven't. Now, some people might say, "Oh, I'm exaggerating." I'm like, look up how we have built cars that can do 200 miles per gallon. We are able to really make them way more efficient than we do. And the power sacrifice that you're giving away is not substantial.
I heard something crazy. I watched a video recently, and it said the first cars ran on ethanol. And prohibition was brought in, not because people were drinking alcohol, but because they wanted to squash the automotive industry.
So methanol, particularly, not ethanol is not ethanol. The methanol is like ethanol.
The stuff made from corn.
Yeah.
What's made from corn?
But it was made from hemp.
Both of them are.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, methanol is a little better than ethanol. So cars do have ethanol in the engines now, but methanol, which you can straight up put in your car, I believe you don't even need to modify it. You can just straight up put methanol in your car and it'll just run. Like, any gas engine will run on methanol. A few gas stations sell it, but it's very rare. But your car will run super clean. It'll be zero. You'll see nothing coming out of the engine. Yeah, in terms of alternative fuels, I know hemp was also a great source of different types of oils. So hemp and peanut oil was the original oil for diesels. Yes. But then people were like, wait, what? No, I don't want peanuts. We can just artificially make it with petrochemicals. We'll do the petrochemical one.
Yeah.
Well, there's always, there's been rumors that Henry Ford, some of the first cars that he worked on, that they say that they ran off of hemp oil. That was something he was looking into. And, you'll hear back and forth arguments on that. Some people say it was false. Some people say it was real, but they have actually progressed very far forward with the technology of the ethanol, I guess you could call it. But this is where I think that they did it before with like the hemp oils and stuff, because they are making cars that do totally run off of gasoline made from hemp. And, if you get into something like that, like, that's something that's extremely replenishable, more so than corn is. And plus everybody's going to be really happy when you're riding around and smoke's coming from the car. So
what we're doing is so stupid with corn. Our subsidies, just what we've done why we feed cows corn. I was telling my mom that we feed cows corn. It's like, no, we feed them grass. And I was like,
Nope.
oh my God, you don't know. We've been feeding corn to cows for like decades in the United States because we come from a place that everything was organic. Like the concept of like, wait, you're feeding the cow what? No, you feed them grass. Like over there, there's grass. They eat grass.
And that's actually, now here's something that's funny that you actually bring that up, is being down here in Georgia where I am, we are in quite a bit of cattle country. There's a lot of dairy cattle and a lot of meat cattle out here very commonly. And I have had arguments with farmers because they'll tell you that you're stupid for not feeding your cattle those grains. And I'm like, why?
I mean, they're not very smart.
And I'm like, why? And they're like, because you don't get the marveling that you get from them being grass fed, and it's so lean. There's barely any fat on there. And I'm like, okay, I'm a fat trimmer. Like I've never understood people that sit there and eat those giant hunks of fat that are hanging off their meat. Like that's just a different level for me.
They're saying that there's nobody that grows cows that say corn is good for cows. Nobody says that unless they're ignorant retards.
I will link you to them so that you can have this conversation with them.
Oh yeah, I'll tell them like evidently you've never took a class of biology in your life. Okay, great. You've never seen the FDA actively researching cows that are in colors because they, by the way, my friend saw them. My friend saw cows that were multiple colors. They were bred that way, and they had ability to open their stomachs, and they had like ports for their stomachs to research how they processed foods. This was in Puerto Rico. They were like, Puerto Rico is a big benchmark, like a place for doing a lot of food experiments because they don't give a fuck. Because it's an island, so they do a lot of experiments. Monsanto was caught doing a lot of experiments in Puerto Rico, obviously very illegal experiments, and they have they have hurt people's health. So between Monsanto and all these other horrific companies, they just do constant experiments in Puerto Rico, and people don't understand that the division of the government related to food and people don't understand that food is a weapon, and the Department of Agriculture is actually not what people think. It is not simply a department associated with the trading of food. It is way more. Just look into it.
The lobbying that is done for the food industry in DC is insane.
Oh yeah, like that.
Intermittent fasting, that's the way.
Oh,
only eat 1 day a week or something like that. You don't even need food. Breatharianism, man.
You're getting banned, sir.
There's a chart you can follow daily, like for intermittent fasting for just the day that helps. It's crazy.
Do you guys remember that guy that was just supposedly saying that they didn't eat like anything or drink water for like 8 to 30 days? Remember there was a couple that was saying that the breatharians. Yeah. How did that become a trend?
What about the Sun Eaters? I've talked to Sun Eaters.
It's the same thing as the breatharians.
Yeah.
Like, why are they lying? I don't get it.
This goes way back. This comes from India. I mean, there's lots of information on it. I mean, I can go 3-4 days no food. Doesn't bother me in the least. I get sharper.
Oh, I mean, but without water.
I've done it without water too.
Interesting.
How many days have you gone with food and
4
water?
days tops.
Man,
but I know a guy. I know people that go longer than that.
Wow. Over 3 days without water. Crazy.
I truly believe it's physical.
So the way it goes apparently is that we're so conditioned after all the generations of living in civilization that we're conditioned that we need to eat 3 meals a day. We need to do this. We need to eat these food groups. And what it does is basically takes us away from the fact that they say we can get our sustenance right from the sun, right from the universal ethers that's around us. So everything that we're doing takes us away from that. I'm not saying go to the extreme and just go without, but we can go a day or two without food and not have any problems. It actually makes our body healthy. Apparently, I just watched a video on TikTok about it.
I'm very into that. Like, people give me a hard time, but that is a lot of times that is the way that I roll too. You know, like when I do eat, I might eat a meal a day.
Oh
like,
yeah,
not,
you can do fasting safely up to
yes.
21 days, scientifically proven. Of course, you should
From
check your vitamin levels
our-
and such because
our good buddy,
our
good buddy Unchained, he actually made it 36 days on a fast, and
From my
did
possible,
understanding,
but you need to know what the fuck you're doing
Yeah.
at that point.
from my understanding, the benefits of like your intermittent fasting throughout the day, like, is that your body, in place of eating a meal like breakfast or lunch or whatever, your body will feed on the trash floating around in your bloodstream or that's in your body.
If you got a little bit of a pouch, like,
Yeah.
it's going to feed on that pouch that's on your, hanging off the
Yeah.
front of your stomach, because that's
It will feed.
stuff.
Yep. Yep. It will feed on what's floating around in your bloodstream, or that's what's attached to your body in place of that meal you put in your body. That whole 3 meals a day is garbage. Complete. It's nonsense, man.
And that's what I say in my content with my videos. When people have ideas or they have thoughts or they have beliefs, where'd they come from? Did we make them up ourselves, or did they come from external sources, through school, through programming, through families? Like, where are our own original thoughts, right? I do this all the time. This is the kind of stuff I think about, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question to always ask, is where did you come up with this? Like, where was it programmed in your mind?
What's the genesis of the idea? And
Yeah.
Well, I would tell you, at least some people say with things like DMT, even that the documented experiences have two sides. One, people say you are experiencing part of what you've experienced, and others are experiencing things that they have never experienced before, period. And they then even extract things from those experiences that they had no knowledge about. Then you even have people that have traumatic brain damage, and suddenly they can do things that they never could before because their brain chemistry completely shifted.
Well,
Or
I mean,
you have people that like have organ transplants, and suddenly they have the memories of the person's organs that they got from. Like, we don't understand where ideas come from, how things are transferred. We have certain ideas of how it happens, but we don't really know.
And you're talking about that. I've heard people call it under different things, like a common name for it currently is like downloads and stuff like that. I guess because of the times, but like in the DMT realm, or if you're into other psychedelics or just into meditating and fasting, which I believe you can also connect.
You can
back to
achieve
that.
these states without drugs.
Yes.
It's just
These
drugs are basically accelerators. It's basically nitrous.
But like I've always been one of those guys that's going to tell you that if you really want to look for the answer, you need to look within. This makes me want to think of another group of cats that we've had on the show, Kat and Kate. They are some of the most interesting people that I've ever come across, and know how to make Bandit uncomfortable within 30 seconds of being on the show. But
in a good way, though. I mean, it's not.
No, it's in a great way. We have fun with it. But like, Kat will tell you that that to look within. Like, you're either a feeler or a seer. She went through this on the last discussion we were having, and you can either feel something within yourself. Like, you can feel if this is the right answer, or feel if this is that gut instinct, I guess you call it. Or there's other people, I guess, where you can close your eyes and visualize it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can visualize that answer or download that information. I make a point to let people know I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I've ended up in the appliance business, but to be in the appliance business, you've got to be a little bit of a carpenter, a little bit of a plumber, a little bit of an HVAC guy, a little bit of an electrician, and all of the above. And there's so much of the stuff that I do in life, from being a mechanic to farming to work stuff, that half the time I don't know what I'm doing, but somehow I know exactly what I'm doing. Like, when I get down to the root of it and I get into the
tis life.
you know what I'm saying though? Like I get down to the root of something, or I get to take something apart, and it's like I have those memories like stored somewhere. And you made mention of like the changing of organs and stuff like that. You know, even though it's a video game, there's a premise in there that I've always found completely interesting is the Assassin's Creed games, how they used DNA to go back in time. Essentially, that's the same as like going through the levels of your past life through your DNA to gather information, to gather the ability to know how to churn butter
Well,
without actually ever having
there's a
done it.
book
Or
about this. Many lives, many masters. I think that's
yeah,
Brian Weiss.
oh yes, that is a
Everybody
great.
should check out that book. Many lives, many masters. It is about that. It is by a clinical, I believe, psychiatrist that did regression with hundreds of patients. And there's other books about the subject, but that particular book is about one person's regressions, which were fascinating to them because they were so vast and many
Well,
lives, many masters.
that's
Yeah.
definitely why I recommend, like talking to Kat and them, because she is big in the realm of the past life regression therapy, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. And like, man, like some of the people that I've watched on like her lives and stuff talking about this stuff, it's just amazing to see the things. And I've seen how they make Bandit so uncomfortable with hitting things on the nose that he's never told anybody I'm just like, these
Yeah,
these girls know what they're talking about.
it to just know things that they shouldn't know. Yeah, it is a little unsettling, but it just, at the same time, I don't know. I really don't know.
So if we really go back and we just get outside the programming or whatever got us to where we are right now today, and I try to get people to meditate because it's key. Because if you empty this mind, everybody talks about how we're all connected. Everything's connected. There is no solid. It's just frequencies, rates, and vibrations, right? So why can't we have access to all the knowledge that's out there? All the knowledge that everybody's got in their energy fields and all the universal knowledge. And, it's like trying to solve a problem, like you say, working on appliance or doing something that you have no previous knowledge of. And then in a flash, you've got the solution. Where does that come from?
I've touched about around this in a few episodes and stuff. There's always that release it into the ether kind of mentality, like somebody gets $1 million idea, you know what I'm saying, and they don't actually make a move on it. And because that flesh suit that got the choice or got the chance to make the move on it the first time didn't make the move on it, it goes back out into the ether, goes back out into the sound waves, and the next in tune person that needs to pick that up is going to pick it up, and maybe they're going to do something with it. I make this joke as a reference kind of because when I was a little kid, I thought it would be really, really cool if we had roller skates that came out of the bottom of our shoes. And as I got older and became a teenager,
Heelys.
all of a sudden there was roller skates coming out of the bottom of shoes. And I used to say as a kid, like to myself, I'd be like, man, I thought of that. You know what I mean? But I was too young to ever do anything with it, but I just put it out into the ether, and eventually that was created.
Somebody got
it. That somebody got that idea. And I think that happens a lot, actually. Like I think
it does happen a lot. It's happened to me. I believe every idea is out there, and whoever's in tune will pick up that idea and act upon it. All the more reason not to have everybody on the planet so open and so receptive that they're all interacting at that level. Understand where I went with that?
Yeah.
So you believe in the collective unconscious or some aspect of it?
Something's there. Yeah.
I also believe there's something to it. I mean, we are in a planet, and in this planet, we share an electromagnetic field. And our brains are like radios. People don't think of it that way. But when you put a radio next to a radio, you don't get that you're literally putting a radio next to a radio. This is more of a receiver, but there's still electrical magnetic signals that are emitted from this. we don't know how sensitive we really are to these signals. We don't really know its effects. We do know that people that live in technological societies are having certain issues. We do believe they're mostly based off food. The food supply is likely the source of the majority of the problems of the developed world, because most people in what you'd call the rest of the world, in that live more natural lives, there's still people that live natural lives. Their health is like ridiculously good. They barely get any form of disease or problems. If it's anything, they can die of things like infections, like how everybody else dies,
this
or accidents.
You brought up another great book that I love to point out, that I've probably been pointing out since episode 1 of this
I
show.
think I know which one you're going for. Let's see.
The Invisible Rainbow and the History of Electricity and Life by Arthur Fistenberg. And he talks about exactly what you just said, is we don't truly know the repercussions of adding all of these radio waves and Wi-Fi waves and stuff like, and microwaves and stuff into our wavelength that we already have. And I think between the waves that they're sending out in all of these radio waves and stuff like that, and the food, that that's them trying to
I just saw it's also a big old
help
book.
help in the control of people, and help in the suppressing of, the positive, the because if it wasn't for the bad, we'd all probably be hanging out by beaches and eating fruit most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wouldn't
Well,
be.
this is so there is, I found this person speaking about it, and then I had that very same thought after mushrooms. I had a realization that the reason why innovation happens in the extremes of the earth is because they are forced to innovate. When you are in a temperate climate where life is good, resources are abundant, access to food and water and everything is achievable, what's the innovation? You live in paradise. What's the point? You're living in a great status quo. You'll protect yourself from the storms when they come, and you'll have the systems for that. But you live in paradise and you adapt and live with nature. And that's what most people did in the Americas, while the Europeans tried to modify reality to their needs. But at the same time, the Europeans and the Chinese put the cattle next to them and basically caused all those pandemics and problems. While the Americas, they understood that the cattle go on one side and the humans go on the other. And that's why they never had pandemics at the scale that the Europeans and the Asians had. They knew how to live with nature.
That there's no more truth into that than anything. We turn everything into a concrete jungle and destroy like that. I can say it's one thing that this country's good at doing, is getting rid of a lot of the natural fauna and flowers and just landscape and stuff in general. I'm the first person to tell you that the American lawn is one of the biggest scams
I
this
don't
country.
understand who created that nonsense, and why did they make that so prominent? But there's no value to it, to destroying the natural foliage of a region.
Well, I'm just doing some research and reading in a book. I don't have it right here, but say, they said 80%. So say that 20% of your DNA and who you are and your makeup is the world that we see around us. In order for us to be complete as we were meant to be here in this reality, we need 80% coming from nature. Nature interacts with us. The trees can interact with us on energetic levels. Even, I think it's in Japan, they have forest bathing. So if you have high blood pressure and you walk in the forest, the trees will lower your blood pressure. And if you're walking beside someone that has low blood pressure, the trees will raise their blood pressure. So nature.
I saw this too. The very same thing you're talking about. I saw that too. The whole idea that they were studying an individual's condition, and then they were seeing the results of them. It was like half an hour, and then they checked their blood pressure and they checked their blood flow, and they checked the packing of red blood cells. It was to that level. So they were the blood cells looked like this in a petri dish, and then after 30 minutes in the forest, they were more spread out. They were less clustered. which that was really, really, really
So
interesting.
simply, we need to interact in our lives with nature. Doesn't mean we have to go live in a cave, but we need to have plants and grasses and nature to enhance our human condition.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm all into, I believe in grounding and stuff. Like, I think there's a whole lot to that. Like, I believe that you should, there's even been some studies and stuff recently that are proving that there is some reality to grounding. And, you look at ancient shoes and stuff like that, and now we all have rubber false soles and stuff that keep us insulated from the ground. And I know that's that whole shoe conspiracy, and people are like, that's a fringe
Well,
level of things, but there's really some truth to it because, spending that time touching back to the planet with your bare feet, like there's
but
electricity
do
in
you
it,
do you think that that was intentional or like a weird accident?
What?
Because what else do you make shoes out of?
I mean, they were making them out of animal hides.
Yeah, I'm sure they were not that comfortable.
Moccasins are really comfortable, bro. You never had a pair?
No, I mean I know there are some that are well designed that protect you enough, but that's the other problem is that our feet they're like this and they should be like this.
But
Like
our
all the fingers in your foot should look like this. They shouldn't look like this.
yeah, and that's because of shoes.
Yeah. A natural foot looks like this.
And so like with that alone, that's one of those ordeals that you've got to be like, there's got to be a better way. I've actually been seeing some groups that are making alternative shoes. I totally own a pair
A lot of companies are
alternative
not doing
shoes.
very very like wide shoes. Now it's becoming a trend that they're building a lot of wide shoes. They've realized that that's what people want. They want wide shoes. They're
And
expensive though. That's the sucky part. They're all expensive.
and it's still though, there's still got to be a better way, like my mom's a great example. She is somebody that I know for a fact grew up down here in the South and still to this day in her 60s will be the first person that you'll see walking somewhere barefoot. And, sure, there's the bottoms of her feet are probably calloused like the insides of my hands from, lifting things all the time. But I think that there was also that factor that people completely overlook because the bottom of your feet is the same skin as the inside of your hand. And, we build a natural callus, a natural protection to things. And I think that the more barefoot you could be, the more chances you have of actually building
But
those
isn't
same
that weird?
things.
It's like so with calluses. How do we then build healthy calluses? Isn't that like in itself that should be a skill that should be taught for people to learn to walk barefoot? I believe it was an MIT professor. He saw a colleague of his die at a very young age, and then he decided, you know what, I'm not gonna fucking die. So he was overweight at the time, and he said, I'm gonna run to work barefoot. So this guy every single day runs to work barefoot. Like for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, he runs barefoot to work. And he goes to work barefoot. Like
Well,
they don't care.
this makes me think of something that I've learned of in the past few months, though, like those tree climbing pygmies that are over there in Africa. Like these guys just run up the trees. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to show me this one.
I
I'll pull
mean,
up another picture.
and
But have you seen the
Africa
pictures?
has almost every variant of human.
I
Almost
understand.
every
It's not
variant.
even. It's not even about the variant thing on this, though. It's about the way that their feet have evolved, are shaped, on the way that they run and stuff, because they don't wear shoes or whatever, and they have like their toe, like you were saying earlier about the hand separating thing,
That's
like
what
on
I
your
think.
toes.
I think we're talking about the same group too. Yeah, I've seen their feet. Their feet
And
are
they,
like
they can like run
this.
up trees and stuff like that and just grab stuff. My mom and stuff, she can pick things up with her feet. Like that's always been a joke. She can pinch people with her toes and stuff like that. But like these, it seems like you have more control over your feet and the aspect of not wearing the shoes compared to the aspect of keeping them.
I mean, that's why you can see
bound up.
people write with the people that lose their hands. They just write with their feet. Like you
Well,
see it
isn't it
happen.
reflexology? They work with your feet. So if we don't wear the shoes we're wearing now, we did some more barefoot walking around, I believe everything's connected to the bottom of your feet, all your organs and whatever. Your whole physical body would probably function better, wouldn't it?
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're so right.
And again, it goes back to choices, right? Maybe we need a better quality shoe, and yes, they're not going to be inexpensive, but I believe we should be supporting like a local shoemaker, a local butcher, a local grocery store. If we, through our own choices, get a hold of this as a group of people, this is how the world will change.
I mean, most people don't know cobblers are so rare nowadays that their labor is not even compensated to the level of the work that they have to
I totally
I don't even know where they are. There's none up where I am.
I tracked down one.
There probably isn't.
I tracked down one in my state because I wear work boots. I wear like cowboy boots, kind of the Justins or there's different brands that are out there and stuff. And the ones that I wear are wide footed, like you guys are kind of talking, because I've always kind of had that issue. I need the wider shoe. And so mine are square toed cowboy boots, and they're wider out. And the first pair that I killed after 2 years, I finally wore the bottoms off of them. Like the shoe was broken perfect, and I was sad that I needed to buy some more boots. And I did buy some more boots, but I have tracked down a cobbler, and I'm totally going to get him to resurface my boots. I really don't care how much it costs, because I think that is,
I mean, a
lost art. Like you don't run across it. It is a lost art,
but it's gaining back traction because people have realized, wait, I can make how much money? Like, I can become rich just working on boots. I mean, the amount of money the cobblers charge is insane. Like, to get custom shoes, some places will charge $2,000 to $3,000, but on the low end, you're looking at $400 to $600 for a pair of shoes. But they'll be the best shoes you've ever worn in your life. So in some cases, it's worth it. And there's some that offer lifetime warranties. They'll repair them. They'll fix them up for you for the rest of your life.
I believe actually if I'm not mistaken, and Casey or Bandits actually told me about this. Like I looked into it to find out it was real. But the Justin brand boots, which isn't the ones that I own, I keep forgetting the brand that I buy, but they do offer the soles for like the life of for life. Like if you wear the bottoms of those boots off, you can send them to that company and they'll repair them and send them back.
I have a pair of Red Wings that I need to get resold, and I'm like, man, just like Luis was saying, Cobbler is going to charge me a lot of money to get my Red Wings resold. I don't even know if it's worth it anymore. I remember
back in the day in Puerto Rico going to those, and they usually did it sometimes for things like that, so smaller stuff. Maybe $150 at the most. I mean, but things is inflation, demand, prices go up. So I know it can be very expensive, especially for a pair of shoes that maybe cost $200. Like, wait, I'm spending basically the cost of the shoe again.
Close to the cost. Close to the cost.
It becomes sentimental at that point.
But they are a really, really, really nice pair of boots. Like, really nice pair of boots that I just might have to get resold. Just bite it and just get it resold.
I totally understand that. I actually wasn't into the style of work boots until like 4 or 5 years ago when I got some gifted to me. And ever since I've got them, these are my favorite work boots. And that's why you always see me in cowboy boots and knee-high socks, because I think they go together great. Well, Jody, I think tonight's been great. I appreciate you coming back and joining us for the first time in a while, man. And it's always a pleasure having you on the show. It's getting about that time. I like to go around and see if there's any other last things you'd like to say for the evening or anything you'd like to plug. Of course, I'm going to have all your links shared with the episode so everybody can get back to everything from your store online to all your social media that you do have currently still.
Yeah, I'm still going to keep the social media. I'm just taking a break for a bit. Just encourage everybody to keep it simple, eh? You see everything that's out there and around you, and yeah, it's important, but really meditate, even just follow your breath, empty your mind, and get right down to the core issues of what's happening, and life gets a lot simpler. And I tell people on my social feeds, don't be afraid to open a door for someone or wave or say hi. I'm finding it very receptive. It's like people really want to try now, and that's a positive movement.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I'm a door holder and a smile and wave guy. Being in small town Georgia, we still wave at you when you drive by.
Yeah.
Get outside and get outside.
Get outside.
Get outside to meditate, even if
Yeah.
it's cold outside. That
Well, hey,
helps.
anybody here do the Wim Hof breathing?
if I knew it was you that did that, I thought it was you
I
that
do
did
it.
that.
It works.
Yes. I've looked into that Wim Hof fella and I follow him online too. And like, I think there is some good stuff to that breathing method myself. It doesn't get cold enough here for me though.
A friend of mine did it 5 times in a row, and he was tripping hard. That's all he told me. It was a
Really
very
does the
interesting
DMT
experience.
thing, eh?
Yeah.
I think it does the DMT and the
It
pineal.
forces the
pineal gland.
production of DMT for some reason.
Yeah. But I've been outside minus 14 degrees, 3 hours in a snowstorm with no shirt on, working my snowblower. So I know it works.
Nice. Good job, man.
Well, I've heard you, I'm not trying to keep going or whatever, but too much, but I do remember the last time talking to you, me asking you about it and you talking about how, they didn't have all these, crazy polyester and all this extra coat stuff all the time. And that, you don't see other creatures out there bundling up in a jacket, so we should be able to withstand more element than I think a lot of people do. They're
The human
just,
body's incredible. Yeah.
yeah, they're just trained.
I'll vouch for that. I'll vouch for that.
Luis, you got anything for me tonight, buddy?
Frequency and the static that's around us, we must shun it out. And meditation is one of the best practices you can ever hope to learn. Guided meditation could be the way forward. Just look up guided meditation and get started. It's not easy. It takes a long time for you to figure out how to meditate by yourself. So use guided meditation because it takes a very long time for you to meditate personally.
All right, yeah. What you got for me, Bandit?
Man, I on a positive note, my chickens started laying eggs again.
Good.
Like everybody was going. Well, no, seriously. Like everybody has been. If you've noticed, like online, people are complaining about their chickens have stopped laying. Like anybody who's gone has like from like a 4 or 5 chickens like me to 30, 40, 50, 60 chickens, and they've just all stopped laying anything. So chickens are laying again, getting eggs. So it was a real weird, like 4 or 5 months we just had where we just didn't get even just one. I don't know, Jody, you have any chickens?
No, but I know people who do, and I've seen a few things, and light is a huge issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
My buddy, his wife's got chickens, and they have like the lights they have in like greenhouses, the LED grow lights.
Yeah.
They put them in because when the sun in the winter time, there's not enough light for them, and that really triggers egg production. Eh?
Yeah, it really like, and just like people were worried that it was what they were feeding them, whether or not it was just that time of year. But yeah, just out of the blue.
I'll go back to that.
I just saw a video on TikTok today, and the guy painted his whole chicken coop just like a Kentucky Fried Chicken barrel, with a kernel and everybody on there, and his egg production went up in less than 3 days.
Oh, because they thought they were going to KFC.
That's a joke. They thought they were going to KFC.
I'm going to become somebody's dinner.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
Well, I mean, and I actually don't put it past them. We were speaking of the grain earlier being fed to farm animals and stuff. I don't put it past these corporations to, maybe put a damper on things. As somebody who's dealt with a lot of chickens, I don't see that much of a downfall during the winter months. And I know it doesn't get near as cold where I am, but maybe that's my advantage. I don't know. I That's why I can't get away from the heat. I know it. I know I'm sweating even in the middle of winter for everybody else, but hey, I like my hot temperatures. I don't know. I prefer it over the cold. That's
Well,
just always been
technically,
me.
they speak of Georgia as one of the places where if the apocalypse comes, you Georgia's a good spot.
Oh, absolutely, man. We're totally something I learned a long time
Jody,
ago
he'll
is
have a space for you because I know it's
we
going to get too cold up there.
I
we
got to
have
get out of here.
we have a lot of the same geography as Jamaica.
Hmm.
People find that fascinating, but I learned about this from people that I know that live here in the state that do come from the islands, and they say they come to Georgia because it is the closest thing to home in this country. And it's practically a rainforest down here half the time, man. Like it's our rainy season right now, and then everything's flooded. But then spring will be here soon, and I can go back to playing in the river. So, and that's what I like to do. Bandit knows I'm a river rat from the word go. So, and love to keep going with it. But there
I'll make a trip down there in spring. We'll hit the river again.
there's
I'll go too.
oh yeah, dude, you got to come too, man. That'd be great. So, but I've got all these great links to get back to Jody, guys. You can get back, you can reach out to him, you can talk to him. I know he loves to share information and make your day just a little bit brighter. And it makes my day a little bit brighter when I see him come through my YouTube feed because that's where I watch my shorts now since I'm banned from TikTok. So it's
You're
good to
banned
see.
again?
No, okay, I've got a problem. I've been trying to upload a video for 4 days, and every time I hit the upload button, the video gets scrambled and it's not there anymore.
Uninstall the app and reinstall it.
Okay, noted. So, just the daily struggle of doing things over here, but you guys can find me everywhere as well, and you'll find all these links over there at unconstitutionalawakening.com. You can find all my links there. You can keep up with us over there on Facebook at Captain Conspiracy and the Freedom Pirates, as well as Defeat the Media. And we've got some more stuff coming soon. We've always got good stuff coming. And of course, you guys that have been hanging on all night, I know you're waiting for your favorite part of the episode, which is our sticker giveaway. We've got our Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast stickers that we're still constantly giving away. You just hop over there to the podcast and more section and go to the part where this episode is to answer tonight's riddle underneath the question. And I hope you guys are ready because this one's a little different. But what do sea monsters love to eat? All right, you guys, go ahead and figure out how to answer that one. And, maybe I'll give you a hint if you need one. You can just message me on the website. I don't mind. But I think that's a good one. So you guys have a fantabulous evening. And I guess it's time to weigh anchor and get on out of here. So until next time, everyone, good night.